February of 2021 is like many Februaries in that it is, in nature, the dying time. It's a time when winter, or we call it the dead of winter, where there's no question that the leaves have fallen and rotted on the ground and in many places been covered by snow and ice. It's often a time when we're hibernating, not just sheltering in from COVID-19, but we're hibernating in order to go in and have time for introspection. And that's the true energy that we want to have in any February. This one, in 2021, has an intense turning point that's coming on February 17th. We're going to take off into a uniquely innovative and decidedly different trajectory for our lives, because we finally realize the full impact of living as though we have separate interests and separate destinies. That has simply got to go. Hi and welcome. I'm Judith Royal. I'm an archetypal astrologer, and I love to read the lights in the heavens and see them as a metaphorical mirror for the events that are happening on Earth. In this forecast, I'm going to tell you the significance of the 6-planet lineup in Aquarius that we're going to have for the new moon on February 11th. And believe it or not, this is really going to put enough wind beneath our wings to lift us up and out of the muddy marshes. And I'm recording this on the first day of February, and in the same way that archetypes and archetypal energy from the universe, from the planets, is often seen on the world stage. I was amused to see that there is a new hopeful wave of vaccines being issued in a different way than they have been before, so we get some new help, and that is going to begin on February the 11th. So new moons are new beginnings, and this February, especially around this new moon, we can really begin to not just hope in a vague faith way, but see concrete evidence that we can witness to the fact that we are really getting past the, very challenging dramas of 2020. So I want you to think, as I'm going to tell you a story to help you see all of this. And as I do, let's just imagine and remember that Inauguration Day, January 20th, when Lady Gaga sang. And to me, there was such an enormous spread your wings kind of energy in the golden dove of peace that was shining from her costume as she sang the national anthem. It's really true that it is time for us to rise above the turmoil of the world, the chaos that is so meaningless, and to have faith in the goodness of mankind, the goodness in all of us. So archetypal astrology is the study of a transcendent language of light, because the ego can only operate in the dark, after all, and archetypal astrology has the happy side effect of bypassing the ego and making a beeline for the light. So here's the story I promised you, and it is about a star falling to earth. It's an archetypal image reflecting the light of heaven on earth, and it mirrors the astrological energy that sets the stage here in the beginning of 2021. So in an Apple News spotlight, a good news, on January 23rd, Apple shined a light on this 34-year-old man. His name was Jacob. He's a music teacher and a National Guardsman from Fairfax, Virginia. He was called to duty in Washington, D.C. on January 13th as part of the precautions that we had to take to safely inaugurate the President of the United States. But for Jacob, his choice was to do double duty. There was a photo there that accompanied the story, and in it you see this young man sitting in the back of a Humvee in full military regalia uniform, and a computer or iPad or whatever propped up against the seat back in front of him, and both of his hands holding a flute, of all things. He's teaching a music lesson to his virtual classroom of elementary school students back in Fairfax, Virginia. Now, the news story had gone back and interviewed the principal of his school, and she told them that Jacob teaches the importance of practice, determination, and resilience. So you know, in my words, that's the example of never, 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 ever give up on yourself and on your destiny. So knowing all that about Jacob, can you guess what song he was teaching his students in that very moment, in that Humvee, in the middle of a National Guard call-up? He was teaching them Ode to Joy. So in that, I'm so inspired that he is really fulfilling his purpose as a messenger of light and love on earth, and expressing it, of course, through his own particular unique talents. And that's the same thing you're doing. That's the same thing I am doing. That's our purpose. That's Jacob's purpose, and that's your purpose, and that's mine. To find that unique expression that is particularly your gift, your talent. If you look at your sun sign and your birth chart, that's often a very big clue because the sun sign does hold the energy of your purpose in this lifetime. It's one part, but almost everybody knows their sun sign, so that's something you can work with easily. And then your moon sign is the way in which you fulfill that purpose, fulfillment. So I think that all heroes' quests, all shamanic journeys or pilgrimages or whatever traveling quest we take towards our version of a holy grail in this lifetime, that the dissolving of ego, which is the same thing as dissolving the belief in separation, we do that so that we can return to oneness, to unity. That's our true self. That's our true identity. We are here, you are here, as the loving spirit, the light of love, to be shared with the world. So one thing that cued me into the importance of Jacob's story was the date that it happened. It was January 13th, which was the first new moon of the new year in the Gregorian calendar. And in the lunar calendar, it was the first new moon following the winter solstice. So there we planted the seeds. They may be dormant now under a frozen or cold ground, but they are strong. If I may remind you, what I had said about that January 13th new moon was the following, that when a community security is threatened, a leader is needed. a leader who can claim such a position of authority and take command. Who could it be? What is needed is a chief with an uncompromising inner integrity. And integrity is the watchword for Capricorn. And all that we had in 2020 of that new 500-year cycle was in Capricorn. And now we're turning a big page, because now for February 11th new moon, the next lunar cycle, the second lunar cycle of 2021, we have 6 planets in Aquarius, a very different energy. It's the energy of the great humanitarian. It's the energy of equal rights and justice for all. So, of course, to me, echoing from eternity was in the voice of that beautiful young poet laureate, Amanda Gorman. And her poem was The Hill We Climb. So let me just read you a few lines, because, of course, she's prophetic. She's right on. It's the here and now energy. She said, "When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it." So the Aquarius sun, which is 180 degrees opposite the Leo moon, that was on January 28th, it was also paired with Jupiter. And so that was the energy of this great humanitarian liftoff, the one where we get this solar-powered goodwill of just a generosity in our spirit, where we want to help, where we're very keen. And COVID-19, interestingly, this is a silver lining of it, if there is one, but it could be, that we are looking at the equitable distribution of justice. The equitable distribution of this vaccine is like a metaphor for, are we distributing equally our kindness, our love, and our caring toward all mankind? Because this is now the role we have as global citizens. Like it or not, that's what we're in. A big part of the Aquarius call to innovation is the call to have a willingness to experiment with new ideas, which is, of course, very difficult when we want to hold on to what we think is secure and safe, meaning the old established ways to do things. And you see how this conflict is playing out on the world stage. Well, February 17th, there's a turning point that is like an internal stress for people, for all of us, in a way, because we have to align ourselves one way or the other. Are we, out of fear, going to align ourselves with the more safe, so-called conservative position, which is keeping the status quo? Or are we going to say, okay, let's risk some out-of-the-box thinking and behavior, and let's go with something much more, well, even radically innovative? The key here is that you have idealized certain things, especially roles that people play in your life, and who you think they are. And again, we must examine our values. Do we admire someone, and are they actually worthy of that admiration? Are we emulating someone's behavior thoughtlessly, or because we truly believe in it? And for this, we just simply need some creative optimism, because by the time we have the Virgo full moon on February 27th, 2021, we are going to be in a position to boldly break some new ground. We clearly are moving into a place where we are willing to experiment with new ideas. And this is a time of radical shifts, no question about that. But along the line of, Viktor Frankl's saying that I love so much, what is to give light must endure burning. And I think we will all agree that we think we've been in that process at least for a year now. So now let me close with something about Valentine's Day this year. With COVID raging everywhere, this Valentine's Day is going to be extraordinary. It, by necessity, breaks some of the old traditions, especially saying that it's simply a romantic holiday. That was never the intention of St. Valentine to begin with. In truth, he healed the blindness of a young girl who was the daughter of his jailer. So I'm pretty sure unconditional love is in there somewhere. And Aries will be the predominant energy for Valentine's Day this year. So lots of fire, but Venus herself is in a cool Capricorn space. And Mars is in a luxuriously loving Taurus energy. But they're both earth signs, and so very harmonious. And yet your heart is saying, let me step back and add a little objectivity to my relationships. And I hope that could be something like you decide that just for the day, just for February 14th, you don't judge your partner. Whether this is a romantic partner or a dear friend, it doesn't matter. Whatever relationship's important to you, you just make a decision that you're not going to act as if you already know everything about that person and how they're going to react or what they're going to do. You let your heart open to the idea that you want to meet them as though you're meeting for the very first time. It's very innovative to act as if, or to imagine, that you don't know anything about that person, but you're willing to be shown. You're willing to ask and to listen, and to really be intent about getting to know that person, that you are healers for each other, that in some ways each of you has a blindness that could be cured by the other, by acknowledging that your perceptions individually and in isolation are always wrong. And the only way we can move into divine perception is if we have a beginner's mind about love, especially romantic love, and we allow ourselves to be shown, if nothing else, by the fact that two people will have two different perceptions of absolutely everything. And it's not about then who's right and who's wrong. It's about questioning the validity of your perceptions at all, right? We're terrible eyewitnesses. What a beautiful, loving gift it could be to have no expectations and especially no demands of one another, and to spend the day in appreciation and gratitude for the relationship. Nothing is impossible holding each other's hands and keeping step to love's song. Thanks for listening. You can always reach me at my email, judith@judithroyal.com, and I'll say goodbye for now.